Hey, how's it going everybody? It's Zapps coming back to you with another video today. This is going to be on part 2 of the Stranger Things intro tutorial. So if you did not watch the first one, there will be a link, there will be a card up top somewhere to click for you to go back to that. Make sure you do that first because you need that intro part so that we can continue with the rest of the song, along with I introduced some methods of using GarageBand. So this video should go by a little bit quicker, and we're actually going to touch base on more instruments, and I'll just go at a little bit of a faster pace as you should be able to keep along better. So we'll go ahead and get started. So what we have so far, I'll go ahead and play it for you. You have your intro right here. And then we have our 2 drum sets to make one heartbeat drum. We have our first Dream Dancer, which is doing a manual arpeggiator that gives the bass tone of the entire song. And then we have our Dream Dancer 2, which is the faint gliding tone that's at every quarter bar. And then we also have the sub-beat bass at the bottom, which just sort of goes through the bar 2 through bar 9 to fill in sort of the dry spots of the song, in my opinion. If you don't have that, that's fine. It's not a necessity, but anyways, we're going to go ahead and continue. So the first instrument that we're going to get is the Massive Trance Pad. So go ahead and do a new software instrument, and we'll search Massive. Don't do anything else. Massive Trance Pad, okay? Alright, so that's right there. Then what we're going to do is fiddle around with the controls a little bit right before we get into the song. Once again, to bring up your MIDI, your virtual keyboard, it is Command K, just as before. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our cutoff and put it to 1 notch before the halfway mark. Our attack is going to go all the way down, and our release is going to go all the way up, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to hit one note, and we want it to drag out as long as we can get it to. And then that should be it for the controls on your Massive Trance Pad, and it should make a sound like this. And there we go, that's perfect. So the note that we're going to be playing is an E, and on the keyboard that translates to a D. And what you want to make sure is you're in the C1 octave, so it should say down here. If it doesn't, if it's like C5 or C4 or anything above, press Z to go down. And if it's anything below, as in C-2, press X to go up. We want to be at C1. And you're going to press D on your keyboard, and that's going to play an E. And what this does is, in this song, right at bar 4, so you have the intro, and then you have a little bit of the drums and sort of a beginning of the song, and then we have our first hit, basically, of the fading pads. So we're going to press record and play a D on bar 4. And just like so. And so basically when I hit it here, I left it to go all the way to bar 6 just so that it could bounce the file down here to make sure that it has enough time inside the MIDI file so that it can basically drag on the note itself. So we're going to drag this back to the beginning of bar 4, and we're going to make sure it sounds alright. Alright, so that's pretty good, but one thing that we want to change is our volume. We want to bring it up just a little bit to probably 1.6 decibels, just because it's a very significant note in the song. There we go, that sounds pretty good. So, now we can go ahead and move on to our next instrument. I know, that's simple. So go ahead with Massive Trance Pad selected, we're going to make a new one. And the reason why we have this one selected is because we want our next instrument to be right below it. So another software instrument. And what we're going to do next is bring in our 2 different organs. And so what these do is for 2 bars, they fade in slowly until the very last bar, and then they hit hard. So I'll sort of demonstrate how that works. So our first organ we're going to do is a mellow organ. Alright, we'll go ahead and fix the controls first. Remember, the controls are up here in the top left corner of your screen. Alright, so we're going to bring our low all the way up, our high all the way down, reverb all the way up, and ambience all the way down. So your notes should sound like this. That's exactly what we want. So the note that we're going to be playing on this is we want to be in octave range C3. So your C note should sound like this. That's your A on the keyboard, by the way. And we're going to be playing a B and an E. So on your keyboard, that translates to a J and a semicolon. So you should have those two notes. And what's going to happen is, in combination, these two notes make an E chord, the beginning of an E chord. And then our second organ is going to fill in the rest of it, making it an E minor. But the second one, we want a different sounding organ with a different tone. So this first one, we're just going to hold it for 2 bars as follows. Okay, and so that sounded really annoying, but don't worry, we're going to fix it up real good. So we're going to go back into our media editor, go to the beginning, get rid of this, and we're going to do each note individually, drag them so that they snap, and then go ahead and mirror the exact same process on the back as we have done before, just to make sure it's perfect. Then what we're going to do is we're going to bring up our automation, and we're going to automate the volume, because what we want to do is we want it to fade in very slowly, and then at the very end, really hit hard. So I'll show you how that works. So throughout the mellow organ, we want to make a point right at the beginning, one at about halfway, one at about a quarter beat after the halfway. And basically, so what I did was I made a mark at bar 5 beat 2, bar 5 beat 3, and bar 6. Those are where my 4 automated notes are, not including the one at the beginning. So what we want to do is on the very first note, we want to bring it all the way down, because we're going to have it fade it from 0. The second one on our list, we're going to bring it down to about -12 decibels. Our third one, we want a little bit higher. We want the slope to really increase. And our last one, we can just bring it up just a little bit. And I'm actually going to drag the entire line, because I want to move both this point and the very end point. It should sound like this now. Okay, so that's a good system, but I feel like it's a little loud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag under and to the right of the first note, and drag over and to the left of the last note we want selected, which is the one at bar 5. So what this does is it selects all these notes, and then we can drag on one of the lines and bring it down, and it will scale it. So we want to bring it down a little bit more than the halfway mark of the unit. So it should sound like this now. And there we go. That's exactly what we want. So next, we're going to make our second organ. So go ahead and add a new software instrument. And this one is titled the grand organ. So for the grand organ, we're going to change some of the controls really quick. So down here on the left, our rotation modulators these are all fine. These also change the pitch and tune of the organ, but this should be fine. What we're going to be doing is messing around with this panel on the right. We're going to turn our chorus on by clicking and turn the percussion from soft to normal. And then we're going to turn distortion all the way off, click all the way off, organ reverb all the way off, and our regular reverb all the way up. So your notes should sound like this. And that's exactly what we want. Okay, and for the grand organ, we're going to do about the same exact thing that we did with the mellow organ, except it's going to be different notes. And these notes are going to be in the same chord, but it's going to emphasize more on the minor part of the chord. So the notes that we're going to be playing is a G and a B, which on your keyboard should translate to a G and a J. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that this is in the same octave range of C3, and it should sound like this. What this does is it works in correlation with the other notes to make the E minor chords. Alright, so once again, we're going to set our cursor to bar 4, press record, and play a G and a J together for 2 full bars, then stop. So as you're playing that, you can sort of hear the mellow organ accompanying it with a more harmonizing tone. So it's kind of nice how they work together. But we're going to go back to our media editor and we're going to fix it. It's way wrong again. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to turn on automation, and what we can do is drag from the below the points on the right side once more all the way to above the last one on the top. So we'll make a box basically around it starting in the bottom right, and this is going to select our automation points. We're going to press Command C or edit copy, and then what we're going to do is we're going to select grand organ, apply volume, make sure our cursor is set at 4, at bar 4, and then we're going to do Command V or edit paste. And so what this does is it copies the exact same automation format that was in the previous instrument and puts it into the new one. So it's a different instrument and different notes, but it's the same automation. So now we should have an accompaniment of an E minor chord that'll sound like this. There we go, that's pretty good. And actually on the last one, I think I'm going to select both of the ends and drag them up just a little bit, because I mean we do want it to get bigger at a constant rate instead of get big and then stay there till it ends. There we go, so that's better. Let's get a little more intensity to it at the very end. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to add is in the original song, which I'll play for you real quick. When it hits this massive trance pad at bar 4, there's a sort of a symbol, an electronic symbol that sort of echoes, and it's got a little tremolo to it that goes to both edges. I'm doing hand symbols right now and just realized you can't see that. Anyways, I'm going to show you exactly how to get this effect. So we can go ahead and click on Seismic Drum 1, and you're going to add a new instrument, software instrument, and we're going to do the seismic drum again. It's spelled seis like the number 6 in Spanish. We're going to go ahead and title it Seismic Drum 2 by double clicking. And the note that we're going to be playing on this is you want to make sure that you're in the octave C2, and you're going to play the G on your keyboard. And so right now it just sounds like that, but we're gonna fix it up a little bit. So set your cursor to bar 4, press record, and hit G right when it hits bar 4. Oh my god, I was so off. Look at that. I can see it right. Ugh. Okay. So we're going to go back into our media editing. We're going to go to the beginning of bar 4, select it, and drag it to fix it. So now we're going to fix the controls on Seismic Drum 2. So make sure that you don't have the first one selected, because you don't want to mess with those ones. You want to mess with the Seismic Drum 2 controls. So first we're going to turn our kick down to about 30% full and our perks and shaders all the way down. Then we're going to turn our drive all the way up, our delay all the way up, and our reverb all the way up. It should have a different sound now if you listen. So you can see right there, that's completely different than this right here that we had before. That just sort of fizzes out and it's done. But this one, it sounds like it's a room, and it's hitting different places, and it's fading out. And it just works great with the song. Okay, and one thing that I did just notice I messed up, on the Seismic Drum 2, we have it set to start at bar 4. Just go ahead and drag that to bar 6. That's actually supposed to go after the organs reach their full capacity. So go ahead and listen to this now, and it'll sound a little bit different. Right there, okay. Next we're going to add another instrument in. I'm going to go ahead and select subby bass because I want it to be right around the middle of this area here. So go ahead and add a new one. We're going to do software instrument, and this instrument is called Dreamy Bells. Okay, so by default, it sounds like that. It sounds like we got a little delay, reverb, and a little too much OSC, so we're going to fix it up. So go ahead and make sure your controls are selected. So we're going to go to our OSC mix and bring this down just a little bit to right about there. I don't know how to describe that. Our harmonics we're going to bring all the way to the bottom. Then we're going to turn our cutoff up just a hair and turn our release all the way up. And then finally go ahead and turn your reverb all the way up as well. Now we should have a different sound like this. So there we go. And just like the massive trance pad that we just made before, we're going to do about the same thing with this one. It's just one note and it kind of fades out the way that it does. The note is a G, and on your keyboard actually translates to a G, and we want to make sure that we are in C2 octave. That's the sound that it should make. And so what we're going to do to make it easy on ourselves, we're going to set our cursor to bar 6, and we're going to just hit G once it hits bar 6, and then we'll go into the MIDI editor to fix it. So go ahead and tap record. And so yeah, right now it sounds super out of place, does not sound like the original at all, but that's because it's in the wrong place and with the wrong instruments. So go ahead and go to your MIDI editor, and we're actually going to take the note, which for once in my entire life looks like it was actually on the right beat, and move it all the way to beat 2. So of course the one time I'm not trying to hit it, I hit it, but that's fine. So now it's got a delay of 1/4 bar, so if you listen it'll sound like this. And so it does sound a little funky with the Dream Dancer 1 arpeggiator in there, because the tones actually don't match up harmonically, but it'll be drowned out by the other instruments and it'll actually sound good. So just trust me on this one. Okay, so this next instrument actually adds a little bit of depth into our song. It basically transitions. It's one of the major transitions in the entire song. So go ahead and set your cursor to bar 6 and select Dream Dancer 1, because we want our next instrument to be in between the two. You can do new software instrument, and this one is called Pulse. That's what I said. Anyways, we're going to do what we did with the seismic drum before. We're going to select Dream Dancer 1, hold the Option key, left click Dream Dancer, and drag it down into Micropulse. So once again, it copies into Micropulse the MIDI files with all the attributes. So if you listen, it'll sound like this. So as of right now, it's pretty much the exact same as Dream Dancer 1. In fact, there isn't even any automation. The only difference being that we are still on the default. We are still on the default controls for Micropulse. So let's go ahead and fix that real quick. So we're going to turn our detune all the way to about 3 o'clock. Our OSC mix all the way off. We're going to turn our attack 1.5 notches farther, and our decay we're going to bring it up 1 full tick, and our resonance we're going to bring it all the way down. Then we're going to turn our ambience to about 1 tick before the halfway point. We're going to turn our delay all the way down, and our reverb to 1 tick after. So now your instrument should sound like this. So you can hear the difference right now. This one definitely has a lot more tone to it, and not as much of the bass as the Dream Dancer 1 had, which is what we're going for, because we're going to actually fade them in and out of each other. Alright, so now we're going to turn on automation, and this may get a little confusing, but just try to follow the best that you can. For Micropulse, we're going to make sure volume selected, and go ahead and enable it. We're going to set 1 point right at bar 6 and bring it all the way down, and then we're going to go to the very beginning and select that point that is already there and delete it, because we don't want any volume until we hit bar 6. Then we're going to go to bar 7, beat 3, which is halfway in between bar 7 and bar 8. We're going to make another mark right about here in the middle, and then we're going to drag this up till the green area is about halfway full. So that's about -6 decibels. So you should hear a sound like this. So there you go, you can see it fades right in. Then we're going to go to our automation, we're going to select volume, and we're going to replace it with decay, because we're going to change the decay value as well. You're going to click inside to enable it. Then once again, we're going to make a point at 6, drag it all the way down, and delete our first point. Then we're going to set our cursor to bar 9, then we're going to go 1/4 beat in. We're going to make a mark right there. Then we're going to set our decay almost to the top, right around 7/8 full. And now if you play from bar 6, you will hear the gradual decay of it actually increase. and then right after it hits a little bit after bar 9, that's when it starts to hit its full power, I guess you could say. So that's all that we have to do with the micropulse. Next, what we're going to do is on our massive trans pad, we're going to rename this to massive trans pad 1 because we are going to create a second one. Okay, so go ahead and click on Grand Organ and make a new software instrument because we want this next one to be right under it. And we're going to call this one Massive Trans Pad, once again, like we had. And we're going to rename it to Massive Trans Pad 2. Alright, so basically this is going to be about the same thing as the first one that we created, except it's going to have more notes and a little bit different controls. So go ahead and go to your control panel, make sure that's selected, and we'll go ahead and change them. So first we're going to turn our timbre, or timbri, I don't know how it's pronounced, all the way up. Then our cutoff is going to go to 1 dash right after the middle. Our attack is going to go all the way down, and our release is going to go all the way up. Both our resonance and our chorus will go all the way down. Our delay will go all the way down, and our reverb will go to 2 dashes after the halfway mark. So now we should have notes that sound like this. And that's what we want. It's sort of got a, it's like a homemade phaser plugin for this. Is basically what we've created, and it's got a long release and a short attack, and that's exactly what we want. So go ahead and set your cursor to bar 6. Alright, and so what we're going to do is at bar 6, we're going to play our first note, which is a C. And on your keyboard, that translates to an A. Then at bar 7, beat 4, we're going to play a D, which translates to an S on your keyboard. And then one beat after that, at the start of bar 8, we're going to play an E, which is a D. So it's going to be the A, it's going to wait a little bit, and then it's going to go S, D. So I'll show you how that works. We're going to go ahead and record and start it. And so once again, I sort of just let the music go all the way to bar 9. As you're playing it though, you don't need to hold on to the notes as it has a large release, so that should you want it to slowly lose its value but also still be able to be audible. So we're going to go into our MIDI editor and we're going to fix things up real quick. Looks like the first one was pretty good, so pat on the back for me, am I right? And then this one we're going to fix, and our last one. Just make sure they snap on other ones that they look like they should be at. So now we're going to go ahead and listen to it one more time and see what it sounds like. There we go, that's exactly how we want it to sound. Okay, and so we just have 2 more instruments to show for the last part of this tutorial today. So we're going to go ahead and add our next one in. You can add it right below Massive Trans Pad. So do software instrument as always, and it's called Sea of Tranquility. I like the name. So what this one's meant to do is in the original song there's a synth that has a filter value that sort of turns down as it gets played, and this is the closest one that I could find to it. So we're gonna, it doesn't sound exact, but it is definitely pretty close. So this one's gonna start at bar 6, so we can go ahead and set our cursor there, and we're gonna change our controls first, as always. So first off, turn your sine all the way up and your modulation all the way up. Then with your cutoff, you want it to be 1 dash before it's full. We can turn our resonance all the way up, turn our attack all the way down, our release all the way up, our phaser all the way down, and then finally just turn the delay all the way down. Now your notes should sound like this. And so what happens is when you're holding the note, it's just playing a steady note, but if you're to hit it, you can hear it starts to drop in frequency, which is exactly what we want. That's what the original song sounded like. So that's the closest that we could get, although we don't want that first part as much, but we'll fix it with some automation tricks. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to play 2 notes total. We're going to play 1 note at the beginning of bar 6 and then 1 note when it hits bar 8. Let's go ahead and bring up your virtual keyboard. The notes that we're going to be playing is a C and a B. Make sure that you're in octave range C3. And alright, so you want to make sure that your octave range is set to C2, and what we're going to be playing is a C and a B, which is a K and a J on your keyboard. So it should sound like this. I think we'll go ahead and stop it on bar 9. So once again, we're not holding the notes, we're just hitting them because it has a long release like we had before. So we're going to go to our MIDI editor and fix it up real quick because I always make mistakes and it's perfectly fine. Am I right? And then at bar 6. I've been getting better though. I do have to say that. Then we're going to do some little bit of automation to it because we don't like, at least I don't like, the synthy version of it at the very beginning where it's more of an actual note, and we just want that fall off value that sort of carries on with it. So go ahead and under volume, we're going to enable it, and like we did on the seismic drums, we're going to set one after, one before, and one right in the middle, and you're just going to drag it down just about there. I don't know really how to describe that except for having a visual aid as I have right here, and then go to bar 8 and do the exact same process, and one in the middle on the note, one after, one little bit before, and bring it down to about the same area. So now when we play it, you don't get as much synth as you can hear. You can see it's a little bit fainter when it hits, which is what we want. And it just fades into the fade off. Then sort of to emphasize on that drop off value, we can actually go to cutoff, enable it, set a value at the very beginning, and then set a value at 8, and make one right before 8. And the one that's right before 8, we're going to bring down. If yours looks like this, then you need to have another one that is a little bit after 8 to bring it up. You want to make it sure that it's a sharp line. You can just eyeball it for now, and it should be fine. And then also go to bar 10, make a new one, bring it all the way down. We want these to be equal lengths because the noise continues even after the green. So you want to, it's more of a supposedly if you're still playing. So now if you listen, you can hear a little bit more of a difference. So yeah, it's extenuated a lot more, which is what we want. And then I might actually bring both of these values up a little bit. So what we're going to do is click on one, shift click on the other to select them both, and drag them up just a little bit because it does drop off just a little too much. Then we can go to cutoff and switch it to our resonance option. Go ahead and select and make similar points that you made with the cutoff. Just one right at 8, one a little bit before. What we're going to do is just drag it down just a little bit, and then make one at bar 10 and just a little bit. And that just sort of the final touch to the Sea of Tranquility. So there you go. That's sort of the sound that we were going for. Alright guys, so I think that's a little bit long enough today. We've basically doubled our instrument panel. It doesn't look like we've added much, but if you play the entire song, you will hear it. So we'll go ahead and listen to it real quick. Okay, so that sounds pretty good. That's a pretty good start that we have to it. This may end up turning into a 4-part tutorial series as the first video took a little long, so I didn't want this one to go. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. See you in the next video.